So in this tutorial, I'm going to take a real world problem and I'm going to turn it into an algorithm. So in most cases, when you go on interviews, they ask you to they give you an algorithm and then they ask you to solve it. But it's hard to really envision how that algorithm relates to something real. So what I've done here in this tutorial is I'm going to show you how we take a use case, pagination is this use case, and we're going to turn it into an algorithm problem and see how the two relates. So let's take this example that I have here. So let's say this, basically, what's pagination? Pagination is you have a set of data and you want to show it per page. So let's say this is page one. The white here is the browser, and then you only have 4 items showing. When you click on this right arrow, it takes you to page 2. Then it shows you the pink data. Then you click on the right arrow again, it takes you to page 3, and it shows you this green. I think this is green. The green contents, and then you can jump from page 3 to page 1 or page 1 to page 3, etc. So that's pagination. So we're gonna build this in the UI. What I really want to focus on is how to turn it into an algorithm, how to get you thinking about it as an algorithm problem. So let's see what this really means. So here we have, initially we are starting with this set of data. So you have an array of different items. So the blue, the pink, and green are all different items. This could be 1, 2, 3. So what we want to do is that we want to take this array, we want to split it into chunks of equal sizes. Now, not all the time you would it's going to fit this nicely. Sometimes it can be like this. Let me show you. Sometimes it can be you just have, let me copy this. Sometimes it's possible to have 2 data left. So once you're done copying this of equal, this of equal, this of equal, you only have 2 left. That's possible. It's not going to be perfect. But this is a real world problem where you're asked to create something in a paginated fashion. So what you have to think about is that how can I do this efficiently? So as an engineer, what you are asked to do really is not how to put this on the UI. This you can learn. You can use React, you can use Angular, or you can just use pure HTML, honestly. What you'll get paid for, they really want you to do is how do you write an efficient algorithm that will do this? Because take a use case. Imagine if you have a million sets of data. The function you write has to be efficient enough to take that million set of data and break it into chunks and not break the UI, causing a bad user experience. So let's turn this real world example into an algorithm. So here is my attempt. Write an algorithm that takes an array and a number n and return chunks of the array, each of sizes n. So what does that mean? So our function is going to take in an array like this with all this data and a number. So in this case, n is going to be 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're going to return chunks. 1, 2, 3. And then whatever the remaining is, we'll return it into a single page. And then we'll show that on the UI. So to do that, I'm going to start you off with a template. So you won't have to start from scratch, because this is not a React tutorial. This is an algorithm tutorial. But we're going to use React to build this out in JavaScript. So so I have an empty directory. So let me just initialize it, get init. Now we have something here. Let's see that. All right, awesome. So I can do a git pull. That's the repo. The repo is going to be given in the video, and the name of it is, I think it's pagination tutorial. Let's do that again. Git pull. Oh, I spelled pagination wrong. Pagination tutorial. Let's see. Okay, awesome. So now we have this. So now let's install our package. I'm using yarn. You can use npm. So while this is installing, one thing I want you to notice is that the data is the same in each page. We have static data. So the data in page 1 is all blue. The data in page 2 is all pink. Data in page 3 is all green. So it makes our problem easier. So it's not as if one blue is here or one pink is here. So when we're writing the array, we do have, this makes it so much easier knowing that we have static data per page. The data do not jump. I'll show you what I mean by that. So again, this is a real world problem. You will be asked to write to add pagination to your UI. Doing the doing the actual UI is easy. You can use React, you can use Angular, you can use Vue, you can use any frameworks out there. Writing the algorithm is what you get paid for. This is where the efficiency comes in. Knowing how to do this properly matters. So we're just waiting for our thing to download. In the meantime, it's almost done. Let's see. All right, once this download, I'm going to open up the code set and then we would use it together. So I'm taking you through all of this, so in case you want to follow me, and then you can see how I got the data. Okay, awesome, it's ready. So let's open it up. That's the code. All right, before we go into the code, let's see what it looks like. Let's see what the template that I gave you looks like. We can say, oh, Jan, start. I froze for a second. So technically, this is it. I have it up already. It's loading. Let's load it up again. All right, there we go. That's it. So this list, so as you can see, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. This is like this. This is basically this set of data. That's what we have here. So what I want you to do is turn it into pages, pagination, page 1, page 2, page 3, etc. I already gave you this, so you don't need to worry. This doesn't do anything. Your job is to make it do something. That's the goal. So let's have this working, basically. Let's turn this into pagination sets. All right, so I have here, this is the template that I gave you. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna put code here, and then here is the function that we're gonna write called chunk array. That takes an array, takes a number, and returns the chunk size, basically. So again, doing this, it's let's see the pagination. So in this pagination component that we have, it calls an unchange. So we pass the unchange value here. So let's begin our algorithm, chunk array. So the first thing I want you to see is we can start by saying const. Let's call it chunked equals an empty array. So we start with an empty array all the time. Now again, this is, so we assume that it's completely empty, and then the next thing that we do is we do a loop, a for off loop. So we can say const elements of array. This is the array that we're getting. Now here's where the trick comes in. What are we really looping through? We're looping through this array, right? So now what we want to do is we want to find out the value of, like, the last element inside this chunk array. That's what I want to get. So I can take that last element and I can push into it. What do I mean? Let me show you. So I'm saying, so I can say const last equals chunked. Then take the length of it, chunked dot length -1. So what is it saying? Oh, it's saying it has an implicit value. Chunk is, just leave it as any for now. Okay. So next thing is that we want to do is, so now this last here, this last is going to take the last element inside this array. We don't know what that last element is yet, but it's important to us because that's how we're going to create our chunk. The last here is basically each of this page. So this is the last in this case. So let's go back. So what we're going to do now is we're going to say if last does not exist, push into it, chunk.push. Chunked.push. What are we pushing? We're pushing an array if it doesn't exist, so we can start it off. Else, if it does exist, if there is an element there, take that element and push into it. Honestly, that's it. So if last does not exist, make it exist. Push an array into it. If it does exist, take the last element and push it into it. So there is something else we have to check. We have to check if last dot length, if equals n, which is the number that we have here. So this is to make sure that we are following this practice of equal sizes of n, 4, 4, 4. So if this does equal that as well, go to the next array. Go create, if this does equal that, then you can go inside here and push into it. If it does not equal that, then you can push in to the last value. So let's use this array. But before we use it, we have to return it. That's my return chunked. There we go. All right, so this array is done. This is where all the work comes, honestly. So now we want to use it. So what we can do is we can create a set of array that we would need. So we have pagination total here. This is already created for us. That's good. So let's create something called, let's turn this into 3. I like 3 better. So let's, when I say 3, what does that mean? So let me save it. If I save it to 3, let's see what that looks like. So this becomes 3 as opposed to 2. It's pagination total. All right, so let us create another one, another state variable. So let's call it chunk data. And then we can say set chunk data. And then we can this is going to be another empty. We can initialize it as an empty array. That's fine. And then so now we can use this in this use effect here. We can say the data that we're getting. Where is the data? This is the data that we're getting. So we can say, so here's the data. Here's the stopped out data that we're using. So we can say if data const temp equals chunk array. This is the array that we just created. We're going to pass it data, and then we're going to pass it a size 3. So we want to break the array into sizes of 3. Now, so this is the return value for us. This is the temp return value. So what I actually want to do is I want to see what this looks like before I even printed it out. So let us do a console.log. Let's create this. Let's temp. Let's see what this looks like. Temp. Okay? Before we do anything else, let's see what this temp looks like once we call it. Let's put data into our dependency array. So if it changes, it says no. Oh, it's empty because data is static, by the way. That's good. So let's see that. So take a look at the values that we have here. I'm not sure if you guys can see this, but we have 4 items. 1, 2, 3, 4. The 4th one is not of size 3 because because we do not have an even number of data. So this is a use case of something like this. The 4th one is an unequal size. So the rest has 4, but the last one has 2 or something. So let's see. So 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and the last one has just 2 because that's the remaining. So we have already created the pagination. All we need to do now is just display it. This is the hard part has been done, honestly. This part, writing the algorithm, it's all about using it now. So now what we can say is we can take our we can say if data, we have that. Now we can say we can set the pagination total. Pagination total we can say as temp.length. What does that do? So that takes, so if we start with 2, it's going to update it to the total amount of chunks that it is broken into. So let's see, 4, because there's 4 items inside our chunk array. So that's where the 4 comes from. It's still not working yet, but that's fine. That's nothing wrong with that. So now the next thing that we want to do now is we want to create something called let's use our chunk data first before we create a page data, because I'm thinking about this backwards. So let's update our chunk data. We can say set chunk data. We can set it to the value of temp. So what does chunk data do? Well, it takes the value and then it updates each amount of page data. So let me show you what exactly that means. I don't have to do that. I can just pass temp. Temp is an array. This would work. All right, this is good. So now what I want to do is, before I use chunk data, I want to create something called page data that would be used here as opposed instead of data. So I'm going to create another array. I'm going to call it page data. This is the final one. Set page data. Page data would be used here as opposed to the data. Oh, page data. Okay, just for any for now. And then this would be any. And if when you're really doing this, we do not use any, but just to save time, I'm using any and number, so that's fine. All right, so that's good. So the next thing is we want to update page data. So we say page data equals what? Equals the initial value. So let's take a look at this again. Let's see if it's showing. Okay, so this array, we want to show the first array, the first input, which is the first chunk array, as opposed to all of it. I just want to show just the first amount, the first 3 elements. So to do that, I'm going to say page data temp 0. That's what I'm going to say. So now I have that set up already. So the final thing to do is, you know what, let's see how that looks. We still haven't put nothing here. Beautiful. So now we're showing the first 3. It's not going to do anything because we haven't called the unchange event, which is here. We have to put some code here to do the unchange event. So here, what we can say is we can set the page data. We can update our page data here and set it to, so this is where chunk data comes into play. Chunk data has all of the chunks, all of it. So we can say chunk data, and then we can say value -1. Why -1? Because value starts from 1, but arrays starts from 0. Indexing starts from 0. So 1 minus 1 is 0. Then 2 minus 1 is 1, and it goes on like that. So let's save this, and this should work perfectly. There you go. There you go. And the last 2. And you can jump from page 4, jump to page 1, page 3, page 2. And so what we have done is we have created pagination. We have taken a real world like something you really have to do, and we have turned that into an algorithm, and I've showed you how to do that. In the video, I have posted the template repo, and also please, if there are any questions, let me know. Thank you.